about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this is interesting. I have one of our listeners wants to change their name. Not because they're transitioning, nothing to do with gender, but they wanted to kind of change their identity. They saw like an episode, I think it was an episode of Friends where Chandler and Joey were fighting over Phoebe's babies. Phoebe said she would name a baby after one of them. And I guess Joey said Chandler's a stupid name. Chandler's like, yeah, that's why I've had issues with women. And Phoebe's like, it's not your name, it's you. But it's interesting. One of our listeners asks, what actually entail? How would that work to just change your identity? Now, I think identity is a spectrum. There's a range of identity. So are you changing your gender? Are you changing your name? I identify as a Dallas Cowboy fan. To become a Raiders fan living in Southern Nevada, that would be a huge identity change. However, my nails are silver, chrome. So I could technically appease both sides. So the question I would ask for somebody who wants to reinvent themselves, which I think is a very interesting concept, to reinvent yourself. How do you do that? So the first question I would ask as a doctor is, why do you want to reinvent yourself? You are who you are. Why? Well, I never get a date, or I'm always made fun of. I'm never a part of the popular crowd. Well, you think changing your name would do that? Now, when we talk about gender changing with kids, kids will sometimes want to change their gender so they are bullied less. Does that really change the bullying? I'm telling you right now, as a girl, I got bullied. And my brothers, as boys, got bullied. You get bullied on all sides. Even if you change sides, you can still get bullied. So, what is it that you want to change your identity as? Is it that you just want to shake things up? You want to change your style? You want to change your haircut? You want to now become, like someone at the gym? You can change some of your behavior and mimic who you might think has a better life than you, but you still need to be true to yourself. So, for example, I went to 12 schools. My folks moved a lot, and I was never popular. Now, my friends said you were, but I wasn't. I was never part of the popular group. Now, maybe to them, it's all relative. They thought I had more friends, but I was never popular. No way would I have been prom queen. Never had a date. I did get a date to prom, but it took, it was not easy. And I always was bullied, every single school I went to. And I remember going fresh start. Okay, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I am going to start at this new school. Nobody's going to know who I am. Maybe they'll think I was popular. And I always fell into the same bottom 5th percentile of social stature. But one of the reasons was I like to make jokes. And I remember telling myself, no jokes. I think I went one whole day without making a joke. And then immediately my comedic side came out. So I was class clown. That's who I was. And no matter how much I tried to dress the part, I couldn't dress the part because we were poor. So I never had stylish clothes. And kids figured that out. The second you don't have stylish clothes, they already read you. So yeah, maybe that was a dead giveaway, or maybe it's because my jokes were stupid. I don't know. But making people laugh, I liked being the class clown. And so no matter how hard I tried to maybe look the part, try to act like the way the popular kids did, I always fell back in my niche. And so keep in mind, if your niche is the smart one, don't play dumb, because it's not really going to work and it's not going to be believable. If you want to feel like you are, I don't know, the king of the ladies, and you're not, it's going to be pretty apparent. Now, can you reinvent yourself by doing things differently? Now, I'd like to be multilingual, learn another language. I'd like to be a good chef. So when I do cook for a date, the food tastes pretty good. You could do that. I'd like to find a stylist to help me decide what I'm doing that's not very stylish, but comfortable. Like wearing socks over your pants. I wear socks over my pants because I don't want to get bit by ticks and mosquitoes. I don't care if you think I'm a dork. I'm going to wear socks over my pants. But you don't necessarily do that in the office. So you can get a stylist. If you want to change your haircut, if you want to change your beard, if you want to change the music you listen to, etc. If you want to change your name, don't call me Bob, call me Robert. You could do that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But again, it's why. Is it you're not getting jobs? Is it that you're being passed over by promotions? Sometimes it's not what you think. Sometimes the reason why somebody's getting a promotion is they're sleeping with somebody, or because they check all the boxes, or they know how to play the game, or they are unethical. Don't lose yourself, your true self, when you do that. But if you feel like changing things up a little bit, I've always wanted to be blonde. I finally became blonde. It does change your identity a little bit. Being a blonde really changed things for me. I got out of some more traffic tickets. It was kind of nice. But I'm still me. And once people know that I'm still the dorky, comedic person I am, I lose a lot of the blonde attraction that I thought it would hold. But you know what? I don't care. I'm me. So yeah, if you feel like changing your name, understand there's some legal hoops you need to go through, but you could have a nickname. You could ask people to call you that nickname. I don't think it's the worst thing. But again, why? And don't be misguided as to the why, because that might not solve what you want to solve, and there might be better efforts extended and expended elsewhere. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Welcome back to the Dr. Daliah Show. So, 4th of July is coming, and some of you are going to be singing the national anthem. Family wants you to sing it. There's going to be fireworks, barbecue, and some of you maybe just have always wanted to sing it, but you've been too nervous about singing it. And I want to give you guys some tips. If you are not the Whitney Houston, the Jordan Sparks, the Christina Aguilera, the Beyonce, you could still sing the national anthem. It's not going to be as good because they really crushed the national anthem. But it's a beautiful song. It's an anthem, one of the most difficult to sing. And I think fewer people sing it because they're intimidated about them being able to sing the song. And so I got some tips for those of us that don't have killer voices on how to get through the Star Spangled Banner and do it in one piece. So rule number 1, don't try to sound like Whitney Houston or Beyonce or Jordan Sparks. Not going to happen. And nobody's expecting you to. Nobody's expecting if you get up there, well, at the game, at your kid's game, at the barbecue at church, nobody's expecting you to be able to knock it out of the park like they do. So already get that off your shoulders. It's okay. Number 2, and I've given you guys tips before, is, start low. There is a lot you need to do when you get to the high notes. And the rockets glare, the bombs bursting in air. You want to make sure that you are at the stronger part of your range. And so a big mistake people do is they start too high with the, oh, say, can you see? Well, by the time you get to the high notes, you're screwed. So start low. Keep in mind, you might not hit those low notes very well, but if you feel like you're going to preserve the range, it's worth the sacrifice. Now, again, I'm not teaching people who could sing. These are for those of us who can't sing. So if you are going to sing the Star Spangled Banner, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? I know it's low. It doesn't sound that good, but at least it preserves your range for later on. And it's amazing how much you practice. You could get lower notes. Let's try lower. Oh, say, can you see? You can whisper it. Sounds a little sexy, a little raspy. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Hey, I don't care. As long as you could get through that part so you could open up your range. Tip number 3, do not overdo it with the song. And the rockets glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. It doesn't have to be super fancy. And I understand that the blockbusters or these rock stars can just hit the notes and do the runs and go, oh, the land of the free, and then just go off. You don't have to do that. Get the song sung and then sit the hell down. Right? Sing it any way you can. So how, can we distract people if our voice isn't that good? Okay? Because number 1, when people listen to you sing the national anthem, they're putting their hands on their heart. They're thinking about their country. They're thinking about their freedom. They're not thinking about you being off key. Now, I have seen some Star Spangled Banners where the person is off key for most of the whole song. So what? Good for them for singing it. So don't panic about being off key. We all go off key. I've heard some of the best singers go off key. That's just a part of your voice. That's just what happens. It's okay. You could have a bad day. It could be dry. Maybe you didn't wet your whistle. So you don't panic about the off key. But what you can do is you could work on your strengths in the song. So if there's something you think you can do that you want to add to it, you could add to it. Try to just sing the song because I really think a lot of people ruin the song. But if you're like, look, I don't think it'll sound good, but I could do a little run or I could go up in a note and make it work, well, then try that. So we're going to start low, right? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Now, let's say you don't want to go low. You're like, look, that low note didn't work for me. Well, then you don't have to. So gallantly streaming. Then go up. You don't have to go low. You can change it. You're still saying the words as long as you get the words right. Right? So, was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Now, let's say you don't want the low. Let's say you're like, the low doesn't work for me. I'd rather go high. Then you could go, proof through the night that our flag was still there. And then you could go high. You don't always have to go through the tune as long as you don't screw up the words and you don't overdo it. Let's say you want to show off a little bit. You want to make it a little powerful. All right. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night. You could, if you could do some runs, you could do it. I wouldn't overdo it. I think it could kind of ruin the song. But if you feel like you want to show there are some aspects to your singing repertoire, why not? That a flag was still there. Now, let's say you can't hold a note too long. Don't. But sometimes you could hold a note in the lower range than the higher. Then that's when you hold the note. If you think you can't do the land of the free, if you don't think you could hold that note high, you don't have to hold that note high. You could hold some of the other notes. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you're done. But for those of you that want to kind of make it a little bit more fancy, you could go, oh, the land of the free. You could go into a falsetto. Some of you want to maybe not concentrate on the falsetto. Oh, the land of the free. Not my favorite, but it's something you could do if you feel like you want to do something there. Personally, I like the shorter, the sweeter, the better. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now, this is the final tip. With the home of the brave, it doesn't sound like you completed one hell of a musical performance because of the way the song ends. Kind of seems a little anticlimactic. Well, a lot of people will add to the ending. And so, oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I've heard some people go, America, my home. You could add something like that. Or the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave, the brave. You could add a little bit something like that, if you wanted to. But one reason why that might be advantageous, if you don't think you nailed the song, is what happens after the national anthem. People are clapping. And if you need that clap, if you need that motivation, if you need that mojo, that might help propel you to one hell of an amazing ending of the song, right? Because people are clapping, right? Because it's the end of the song and they're not expecting you to keep singing and they're probably not even listening. So it's a freebie. So, oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave, America, my home. And then they'll clap even louder, cut you off, cover up any discrepancies you might have had and you nailed it. So honestly, with the Star Spangled Banner, you could make it work and you could have a voice like mine, which isn't that good. Again, start low. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there, still there. Oh, who say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave, the brave. Not the best, but honestly, you got the job done, right? Yeah, I gotta tell you guys, I love our country, and it's not the easiest song, and you don't have to be like some of the most amazing, amazing singers that have come before you or I to sing this song and knock it out of the ballpark. And remember, you are not singing at the Super Bowl. right? You are singing for your family, for your friends. And when you sing the Star Spangled Banner, it's not because you're trying to get a record contract. You're singing the Star Spangled Banner because you want to show your love for the country. You want to show that you are loyal, that you appreciate all who have sacrificed for you and sacrificed for this country, and you are very grateful to be an American. That's what the song is about. So enjoy it. And you know what? If you sing off key, it's still endearing. God bless America. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I really want to appreciate, just extensive appreciation of you guys reaching out, seeing the anti-Semitism and some of the ridiculous things that have been happening in our country ever since the October 7th massacre and before. Trust me, racism, anti-Semitism, bigotry has been abound, but people have been more blatant about it. I really appreciate much of your guys' sentiment and your support. There are still hostages being held in Gaza, some of them U.S. hostages. It just blows my mind that we don't have the world coming together to, 1, condemn what the terrorists did, number 2, show a stand against terrorism, and 3, try to get the hostages home while they are being treated as slaves, raped, and as some of the Hamas leaders have said, they don't even know if some of them are still alive at this point. Absolutely frightening. But, many of you have picked up on discrimination and racism, and that has pervaded for decades, centuries in this country. And I have always said from the beginning, don't think you're in the clear. If you think you're in the clear, then you've got a rude awakening. And you will be discriminated against or terrorized or threatened. It'll happen. If we have a society that allows that to happen, it's going to continue to happen. And it'll happen to you. Remember, there was a doctor, and I think it was in the South, I don't remember what state it was, where he refused service to somebody who didn't get a COVID vaccine. Now, you're not supposed to refuse service to anybody. If somebody needs life-threatening treatment or you're a doctor. You do no harm. You're there to help them, whether they're vaccinated or not. If you didn't get your tetanus vaccine, I'm still going to take care of you. If you didn't get your hepatitis vaccine, I'm still going to take care of you. If you didn't use a condom or the condom broke, I'm still going to take care of you. If you smoke cigarettes, I'm still going to take care of you. But the doctor, and I reported on this, but I'm not going to bring up his name again, put out a sign saying, hey, you didn't get the COVID vaccine, we don't take care of you. Well, one thing that was brought up and was pretty apparent is that there were many individuals who lived in that community who were Black. And many Black individuals did not feel that their race was represented properly in these studies for vaccines. And after the Tuskegee experiments, as well as of decades and centuries of discrimination, they felt a little unenthusiastic about the vaccine. So many individuals in the South were not Trumpers, like the media wanted to say, and saying it's okay to discriminate against Trumpers. These were individuals who were Americans, Black Americans, Latino Americans. And so when you started to see that people were being refused care, and then you saw their race, nobody said anything. Interestingly, there was a woman who wore a MAGA hat, and she was on an American Airlines flight. She was, I believe, a journalist, and she documented what she claimed to be discrimination because she was wearing a MAGA hat. Her name is Heather Mullins. She was on a first-class trip from Detroit to Philadelphia. And she said the female flight attendant skipped her when taking drink orders. And then when asked about it, I guess the answer or the response was snide, she said. And then she finally got her beverage after everybody else. And she shared her story. And she had a hat that said, well, make America great again. And she documented this and all that. And you know, I find this very troubling that you can't be of a political party, of a health mindset, what vegan versus meat eater, of a COVID vaccine mindset, support the vaccine, want to wait, get more data on it, without there being blatant discrimination against you. And I don't want to sit here and say, there's going to be discrimination. You're going to be discriminated against. Everybody's racist. And no, I'm not here to say that. But if you think that you are in the one community that is protected from it all, you're not. Hitler went after Jews, Catholics, Christians, Muslims, homosexuals, gypsies, and anybody they wanted to. Nobody was safe. They're going to turn on you. If you are gay and you live in Gaza, there are rules against your being on the LGBTQ spectrum. And it has been made very public that you could be arrested. And so we have this type of behavior so pervasive. And nobody says anything because they are not afflicted by it. And I get it's scary. I was in Germany and the German people were amazing. My grandmother was German. So I'm a quarter German. I'm a quarter Austrian. My grandmother was German. My grandfather was Austrian. Felt very comfortable with the German people, know some of the language because my grandmother spoke it to me as a young child. When we were driving across the countryside, there was a bridge. And on the bridge, it had graffiti that said, "No Nazis," with an exclamation point. Good for them. Good for them. And I really feel bad for the German people, having lost their country to this insane, bloodthirsty, disgusting appendage of Satan who took over and scared people into following. And people were scared. And when people are scared, they put themselves and their family first. And I don't blame the German people, the good German people, who didn't want anything to do with Nazism, but were scared. But I really am grateful for those who spoke out and those who helped individuals. And where are those people today? Many of you are. Very, very cool of you to speak out. I see your Facebook posts. I see your social media posts. Anti-Semitism is ridiculous. Hostages, people being raped, babies murdered, kids raped by the Hamas attack, absolutely disgusting. And if we let the narrative go with, well, it was deserved because even though Israel left Palestine in 2005, they're still causing mayhem and obstruction. If we let that narrative persist, that means we're giving terrorism a free pass. We cannot do that because terrorism will happen here. Look at how we already have terrorists sneak across the border. People thought that September 11th was justified. There is no justification for killing innocent people, for coming into our country and killing innocent people. And so when you see somebody who has a Biden-Harris t-shirt or a MAGA cap get discriminated against, get made fun of, get that's not America. We're not in America to only be one political party. We're in America to have freedom of speech and to be able to vote freely and to be able to support a political candidate freely. But already those forces that we see in non-free countries are already pervading here, where if you don't think like us, you're bad and we could go against you. And that's wrong. I don't care if you support Biden. I don't care if you support Trump. I care about your freedom to be able to convey that. I may not agree with some of your politics. I may not think somebody's been a good leader, but I will still defend your right to want to vote in a free election with not of any consequences, let alone be able to sit on a plane or to be able to be in a school or to have a job. I'm telling you right now, discrimination will happen to you unless you speak out. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So late spring, summer, we have a surge of COVID. I'm seeing it. It's pretty obvious. Cough, sore throat. Some of you get fever, some of you don't. Some of you may get pink eye. Some of you might not. Fatigue. Interestingly, many people feel like they have the flu. And they're calling into telemedicine companies saying, I have the flu. And I said, really? Did you test positive this late in the season? Flu season usually ends in May. They say, but I was COVID negative. Keep in mind, these at-home COVID tests are not always picking it up. These at-home COVID tests were designed for the 4-year-old virus. We have some pretty new strains. So if you do feel flu-like, please go get checked. We might still have some flu still circulating. That can happen. And I am suspicious that we might still be having some post-flu season flu cases. But we are seeing a huge surge of COVID, and to be aware. So the US FDA has recommended that COVID vaccine manufacturers update their formulas for fall doses in an attempt to target the KP2 strain and the JN1 variant. Now, this announcement came a week after the agency's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee to recommend a monovalent JN1 lineage vaccine. As of the end of March 2024, the KP2 variant, according to Fox News, was responsible for 4% of infections in the U.S., according to the COVID tracker at CDC. Yet 50% of infections were attributed to the parental strain JN1. A few weeks later, KP2 is now the cause of 28% of infections, and the JN1 variants have dropped in prevalence. It shows you how quickly this virus changes and evolves. So, according to Fox News, Dr. Mark Siegel, clinical professor of medicine at NYU Langone, said it makes sense to target the KP2 strain because it is becoming the predominant strain. It is surging in California as well as across the country. And the KP2 strain is highly immunoevasive, which means that immunity from previous variants and subvariants do not offer much protection. On the other hand, the vaccine will cause a production of immune cells and antibodies that will continue to protect you against previous variants and subvariants. Now, one of you had asked, why are medical experts still encouraging the vaccine? Well, and it's a very good question. So I have seen the gamut. I've seen people die of COVID. I've seen kids die of COVID. I've seen side effects with the vaccine. And as I've told you before, it's different strokes for different folks. For those of you who could die of COVID or have some severe side effects to COVID, you probably should get the vaccine. For those of you who could run the risk of having a side effect to the vaccine, you might want to talk to your doctor about other options. And so it's not an easy answer because how do you know? The average person who got a side effect to the vaccine didn't think they were going to get a side effect to the vaccine. The average person who got severely ill from COVID and died didn't think they were going to. And so it's still a very frustrating time. I have said time and time again, like with the flu shot, for some people, the flu shot is exactly what they need. It's a godsend. It protects them from pneumonia, from heart attack, from stroke, because flu can kill. Maybe not in and of itself, but by the secondary issues it causes, because flu knocks you for a loop. But some people, they don't do well when they get the flu shot. I've had family members that can't tolerate it. So, all right, you'll have to then be treated for the flu. Sleep well, eat well, build up your natural immunity. But we have vaccines, and the medical community will always support on the whole vaccines because of what happened with polio, because of what happened with tetanus. You know, when you have people die or get severely ill, and then we come up with a vaccine and prevent it, we're sold. But what we have to do as doctors is understand is not all vaccines are the same. Some vaccines might be just the, God's gift to us. And others might not necessarily be all that. And so when the flu shot comes out, and at its highest efficacy is 60%, which is good. If we could come up with a shot that manages flu at about 60%, it's pretty good considering flu is such a rapidly evolving virus. But we have to understand it's not going to be like the polio vaccine. Polio vaccine is pretty damn good, knock on wood, and I hope that never changes. I never want to see polio come back. So you need to decide for you what you need. And I have seen these vaccines save lives. I have been very grateful. But I've also understood that if you have a milder virus, you're going to be more hesitant, especially since you feel that side effects have not been disclosed. We have a lot of distrust of public health officials, and it's their fault. When we ask for transparency, when we ask for true numbers of deaths, when we ask for what exactly were people dying of, excess deaths, were vaccines causing side effects, were people passing out, and we saw videos of people passing out. Everything seemed to be hush-hushed. And they didn't have to. They could have been very honest. You know, Americans aren't stupid. There were a lot of people that feared dying of COVID. And if they saw people pass out or have a cardiac arrhythmia or get a blood clot or go into TTP or ITP where they lose their platelets, I think the average American could make an educated decision about their health and say, look, I'm seeing the numbers of people die. I'm seeing what COVID did to my family members. I understand there's rare cases. Of side effects. Let me make a decision. But instead, public officials decided to minimize. And there was a bias in the news. And when somebody tried to say, hey guys, those masks you're wearing that have been in your pocket for weeks aren't protecting you, we got hushed. When we said, look, you can't really mandate a vaccine because there could be side effects and we really don't want to lose any more of our military men and women, and we don't want to lose any more nurses because you're firing them, nobody listened. You know, we really want to work on natural immunity, and we should be testing people's natural immunity because we've had nurses on the front line who survived the initial COVID wave and now are getting fired for not getting the shot. Can we look at their antibodies? No. So, sadly, we messed up. So now we're talking about getting a booster vaccine. And the government is very displeased with us for not enthusiastically getting our vaccines. I think only 12% got the latest booster of the COVID vaccine. And so I understand there's misinformation. Some people said that the vaccine would give North Korea chances to track you and China to track you. No, come on. But as a doctor, nothing is 100% safe. So of course, there could be side effects with it. As far as I'm concerned, if you are at high risk of having long-term COVID or any other sequelae, and you're like, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get COVID, have at it. If you and your physician think the vaccine's the best thing to do, I am very grateful that we are making them. And yes, we should make them to cover the more recent strains. To me, I think it makes no sense that our testing is still, especially these at-home tests, are more targeting the older versions. We really need to update our science. But if you fear that you might be at higher risk of a side effect or you didn't tolerate the shot well, then work on your immunity. Make sure you have access to an antiviral in case you do need one, and talk to your medical provider about the best way to protect yourself. You might have to social distance. You might have to sleep in another bedroom if somebody in your family is sick. But you are not going to hear from me an anti-vax or a pro-vax stance. I'm going to do what we do in medicine. We have to figure out what is the best thing for people individually. And I'm grateful we have vaccines, but they have to be a choice. They can't be mandated. So we'll keep you guys posted. We are also, I guess they're working on the new flu vaccine. We'll let you know what that's going to cover. But yes, there is COVID. For those of you who are feeling ill, doesn't hurt to get yourself checked out. Make sure you do that. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.